Hello everyone and welcome back to another Marvel Crisis Protocol battle report. Thank you for the support on the first one. Also, there's Sora's cameo over there. Sora. She knows. And if you would like to see more of these in the future, please do show your support so we know where to kind of focus our attention going forward. This is another kind of trial game for Crisis Protocol. We're mixing up the hero team this time, but the villain team will largely remain the same, doing different missions as well. So let's quickly go over the teams, and then we'll discuss the already set up two objectives for this time. So like we just mentioned, the villain team Cabal affiliated is exactly the same as last time. So Red Skull is the leader, he's got Baron Zemo on his left, Crossbones on his right, and then on larger bases at the back he has Ultron and Doc Ock. So it's just what is in the core set villain wise. And also, once again, their team tactic cards are Cosmic Invigoration, Dark Reign, Age of Ultron, and Patch Up. Again, you are meant to have more of them, but because we're just using one core set, one, there's not enough cards to go around, because I mean, technically both sides could use Patch Up, for instance, which is a healing related one. But we're running with less, one, because it's less complicated, and two, just because sharing a deck, essentially, across both sides. And we'll worry about what each of those do if they are actually played. We'll try and make an effort this time to play more than just one. So let's take a look at the slightly different hero team. So as you can obviously see, the largest of lads has joined the hero team. The Hulk is here, right at the back. You've seen the painting video of him, hopefully. He is very large, he's also very strong, so his threat level is high, and as a result, instead of 5 miniatures, there's another one of Sora's hairs. Even if you never see her in a video, her presence is felt by the hairs that somehow get onto this table, despite it being substantially taller than she is. Anyway, Captain America, Iron Man, Captain Marvel, and the large man himself, the Hulk at the back there. So that's why Black Widow and Spider-Man aren't here, because he is their cost combined, I think, because Spider-Man's 4 and Black Widow is 2, and he's 6. Hulk is a little bit different to a standard character. He doesn't have a wounded side to his card. If he just has a lot of HP, has 20 HP, and if that goes, he is just gone. He is gone from the match if he takes that much damage. However, the more damage he has on his card, the more powerful his attacks are, and he can do some pretty hefty strikes, let's say. Changed up the team tactic cards being used as a result of the change in roster. Still got Second Wind and Seeing Red, but added is Smash, which is actually from the core set, and Gamma Launch, which is from the Hulk box. One of the objectives we're playing today is also from the Hulk box, and it actually has a 15 threat. The other one we're playing is 17 though, and you get to pick which power level you choose to play against. So we are still playing 17, although one of the objectives you're about to see as we go to that is 15. So this is the combined mission we're going to be playing today. The secure objective is Gamma Wave Sweeps Across Midwest, which is from the Hulk box, and it's threat level 15 maximum. And then we also have Spider Infected Invade Manhattan as the extraction. That's 17 threat, and that's the threat level that's been chosen. So there's 3 Gamma shelters on the map. 1, 2, and then 3 round there. And the way it works is anyone who's not within 2 of a Gamma shelter at the cleanup phase, so that's at the end of a turn, they take 1 damage. Also, in terms of victory points, you score 1 for securing the one closest to your deployment. The heroes have deployed on this end this time, so if they secure that, that's 1 victory point. The middle one gives 2 victory points. If you secure the one closest to your enemy, that would be 3. And I think that's basically it. Yep. So there'll be radiation just sweeping across the table at the end of every turn. Weirdly, the Hulk does not have any kind of immunity against Gamma. He's immune to poison, but not Gamma, so he will take damage if he isn't near one of those shelters. The Spider Infected, place 5 Spider Virus Infected civilians. So it's essentially exactly the same as the shards in the last battle report. 1 in the middle, and then offshoots on the 5, or the 4 corners there. Unlike the cube fragments though, you pay a power and you can only pick up 1. You can't carry any more civilians, you can only carry 1 at a time. You score 1 victory point if you have 1 during the cleanup phase, so that's the end of a turn. The twist, however, is during the power phase, so when the subsequent turn starts, you roll a dice, and if it lands on a crit, wild, or hit, it's very small, it's hard to read, your enemy advances your character small, wherever they want, that wouldn't result in going off the table, presumably. That is to kind of like simulate the Spider Infected doesn't actually want to be saved. They're just causing havoc. So if you don't get a blank or a block, your enemy gets to move you somewhere where it might be disadvantageous, especially with the Gamma Waves going everywhere. So that's it. You saw the deployment for the heroes. Here's how the villain deployment is looking. Baron Zemo's being a loner. The others are right smack dab in the middle in a big line near their gamma shelter over there. So we're going to determine who goes first and then get this started. So to get Battle Round 1 started, the Cabal is getting first activation, so then it's going to alternate from this point on. Everybody has gained 1 power in the power phase. I don't think I mentioned when I was going over the hero side, but there's still Avengers affiliation, because all of them are Avengers. Anyway, Baron Zemo, he moves along. So first of all, he moved next to the spider infected. He spent a power to have the spider infected on his person, then moved along again to get into the closest gamma shelter. You have to be within range 2 of it, which he is. I've forgotten the order in which it happens already, despite just reading it, but if the spider moves him out at the end of the turn, he will take damage. So as we get to the first hero activation, just a small correction for the power phase. Hulk has a passive called Inner Rage, which gives him an additional 2 power in the power phase, so essentially he gets 3 instead of 1. Anyway, Iron Man activated. First was a medium move to there. Second, he has fly, so he can just do this without having his move limited. Was another medium move into the middle gamma shelter, so currently he's securing it, but that could change, and he spent his 1 power to pick up the spider infected that was there. Also, the spider infected movement happens in the following turn, so there won't be any like shuffling away to get affected by the gamma radiation, because that happens at the end of a turn. So it was a busy activation for Red Hood next. So from where he stood, he used the Cosmic Cube, which gives him 3 power. You roll 5 dice, and for every skull you take 1 damage. This time, unlike last game, he did actually roll a skull, so he's taken 1 damage, which presumably also gives a power. That also counts as one of his actions. His other action was to move Medium into that Gamma Shelter's AoE, so he wouldn't take any damage at the end of the turn. However, it doesn't cost an action, so he also used, what's it called, it's Harness the Cube, or some other one. It's the one where either he or an ally within 4 is moved to, and he moved Ultron from there to there. There's some tricksy planning going on to make that happen, I think, or why that happened. But for now, it's over to the heroes again. The Hulk activated next. He can only move small. He can spend 3 power to do a super leap, which is an additional small move, I think. But either way, he just moved small, spent 1 of his 3 power, because he got 2 extra, to pick up the spider infected that was there, and then didn't move his full second move, like full allocation of the small movement, just enough to be within 2 of that gamma shelter to avoid taking the damage at the end of the turn. So he's holding a spider infected, Iron Man's holding a spider infected, and Baron Zemo is so far. And it's back over to the villains. Ultron activated and moved Medium first of all, and he can fly, so he doesn't take into account the size of the building because it's size 4, right into the middle gamma shelter. He attacked Iron Man with an energy blast, only 1 damage all said and done, but that does generate 1 power for him as well. That also means that currently the middle shelter is contested, so currently we give up no victory points, but they are, everyone, no matter what side, as long as they're within 2, get the benefit of being in the cover of it when the gamma wave sweeps over the map, presumably. You don't have to be the one securing it. So, back over to the Avengers. Captain Marvel activated and moved Medium to get within range to spend 1 power to pick up the spider infected that was over there, and then just spent another Medium to get back safely within the AoE of the gamma shelter in the street there. She couldn't do much else. She could have double moved up to Iron Man to be within the AoE of that shelter to give priority to it. Opted to grab the spider infected instead because it's still a difference of 1 victory point. Whether or not that will make a difference in the long run, we shall see. So we're actually just going to cover the rest of the activations for Battle Round 1 as they were all double moves. So just over here, Doc Ock has clambered up to the central gamma protection thing there. Crossbones is within the protection of this gamma shelter, but is heading towards that spider infected. And Captain America went around the side of the car here and is within that gamma shelter. So that's all. Now we're going to see how the points stand at the end of Battle Round 1. So at the end of Battle Round 1, the Avengers have secured their closest gamma shelter for 1 victory point, and the villains have secured their closest and the middle gamma shelters because Doc Ock and Ultron, they outnumber Iron Man. So that's 1 victory point for their closest and 2 for the middle, for 3 versus 1. The Avengers have 3 spider infected. Captain Marvel, Iron Man and Hulk all carry 1, and you're only allowed to carry 1 max, so that's 3 victory points there. And Baron Zemo holds a spider infected for 1 victory point for the Cabal, making everything square and even at the end of Battle Round 1 at 4 victory points each. So now to get Battle Round 2 started, activation tokens come off, power is generated, and Spider Infected force people to move. So as Battle Round 2 gets started, just something interesting to note, the Gamma Wave Sweep Across Midwest objective doesn't say that the people who get hurt by not being in a gamma shelter that take 1 damage generate power from that damage. And I think it's an important specification because in the power of the the fragment, cube fragments from last time, it specifically stated that they take damage and gain power. So presumably that isn't the case for the gamma waves. Doesn't matter in turn 1 because everybody was in a gamma shelter, so they were safe. But going ahead, that might be a point of contention. We're going to play that you don't generate power if you get hurt by the gamma wave, but that might not be right. But it's just it's a little bit of a discrepancy or difference on the objective cards. Totally forgot to cover spider infected movement. The Hulk was forced over there. Captain Marvel was moved over there, and then round here Baron Zemo was moved there. Also Iron Man was moved, and we'll just cover that now at the same time as first activation. Iron Man got moved closer to the threat. Ultron activated first for the Cabal. He did 2 energy blasts against Iron Man. One did 1 damage, one did 2, but it gets reduced to 1 thanks to Invincible Iron Man. So he generated 1 power from each of those bits of damage, because that's what the energy blast does, plus 1 extra for the Cabal rule from Red Skull. So first activation for the Avengers was Iron Man, and he's hurting. He's got 2 HP left on his healthy side of his card. He spent 2 power on homing rockets, although it's actually only 1 power, thanks to Captain America's A Day Like Any Other. And he shot it at Doc Ock. As long as he gets 1 wild in the hit roll before defense is resolved, any enemy within 2 just automatically suffers 1 damage, so Ultron took 1 damage from that because there was a wild. He did 1 damage to Doc Ock. Then he could have technically ran away, but then he would be out of a gamma shelter. He is holding on to a spider infected, but he opted to stay and fight. He used a 0 cost repulsor blast to try and shove Doc Ock off the building if he got a wild on his attack roll. He didn't, and Doc Ock blocked the damage. So 2 damage done. He's got 2 left, but he's standing his ground. That may be a mistake, we shall see. Doc Ock activated next, and he had a pretty stellar turn. He used, it was either 3 or 2 power, I've forgotten how much it was. How much was it? It was 3 power for a 6 energy attack, arm lasers with pierce if he gets a wild. He shot at Iron Man and did 5 damage. Now the way excess damage works, Iron Man had 2 HP left, so he does not gain 5 power. He gains the 2 he lost. The rules are very specific about that, so he did gain 2 power. He'll have access to that plus what he had left over. Next turn when he flips over, he also has to drop his spider infected, which we forgot about. It has to be placed within 2, so it will just basically go there. And Doc Ock, well technically Doc Ock could have picked that up because presumably the dropping of the objective happens immediately, because all Doc Ock did with his second activation was just shuffle, because there was nothing else to do and he didn't have the power to arm laser again. But because Iron Man went down after his first attack, the spider infected would have been dropped there, so yeah, he could have grabbed that. Okay, well we'll just say he moved within 2 and spent 1 of his power to pick up that spider infected, so it's now in his card. Forgot that the order that happened in that would allow that. So Iron Man will be on his wounded side. I believe he gets a new attack on his wounded side. But anyway, it's back over to the Avengers to see if they can avenge Iron Man. Captain Marvel activated next, and thanks to the spider infected moving her, or getting the Cabal to move her between turns, she did not have enough movement with her medium move to get up onto the roof to attack this turn, so she moved and moved. So she is going to brawl up there next turn, but she isn't able to do anything this turn. Worth pointing out, if the team tactic card had been taken this time that was in the last game called Avengers Assemble, she could have spent her 1 power to move, and then, as in a free move, and then take her turn and actually still be able to attack. Didn't take it though, so unfortunately it wasn't going to get any, it's not going to get any screen time this time. It would have been really helpful, but for now it's back over to the Cabal. Simple activation for Crossbones, poor old slow Crossbones. He moved, he spent a power to pick up the spider infected that was there and then moved back to the safety of this gamma shelter there. Simple activation, and now back over to the Avengers. The Hulk activated next, and he spent an action to move small to be within this gamma shelter again, and then the team tactic card Gamma Launch was used. So we can turn this over and see what it did. If Hulk is within 2, range 2, not movement, or medium, of another allied character but is not holding an asset or a civilian token, which Captain America was not, he may spend 3 to play this card. Hulk spent 3 power, place the allied character within range 5 of his current position, so Hulk picks up an ally and chucks them. So he has thrown Captain America down the street, so you can see him there. Cards like this don't actually count as an action, so technically he could do something else, but he's short 1 power for any other good option, so he's just going to sit and claim the Gamma Shelter. And with that, it's over to the Cabal. Baron Zemo activated, and he moved a bit closer to Captain America, then did a sword attack on him. He got 1 wild in the effect, and even though it did no damage, presumably that still means that the bleed effect applies, so Captain America is going to have to shake that off or get 1 damage at the end of every activation. When he was targeted by the attack, Captain America spent 2 power to do Vibranium Shield, which adds 2 to his defense as long as he's blocking a physical or an energy attack. So nothing was done by Baron Zemo. Captain America still hasn't activated, and it is back over to, I think it's just him to end the turn now actually, isn't it? Yeah, I think so. So Captain America activated next in an attempt to retaliate. He used one of his actions to shake off the bleed status to get rid of it. Then he just tried striking Baron Zemo, rolled very poorly for his attack roll. Baron Zemo did well with his defense, and so no damage was done. Now they are both out of safety, so at the end of the turn or whatever phase it triggers, the gamma waves are both going to make them take 1 damage each. So now it's just Red Skull to end the turn on. So Red Skull moved where you can see him still within range of the gamma shelter there. He then did a Cosmic Blast for 1 power? Or 2 power? One of the two. Either way, it's not his best attack, it's not Unleash the Cube, which is a 5 energy attack. He did it on Captain America, and Captain America blocked it. So that is it, that takes us to the score phase, or the cleanup phase as it's officially called, for Battle Round 2. So at the end of Battle Round 2, Hulk and Captain Marvel have Spider infected, so that's 2 victory points for the Avengers. Baron Zemo, Crossbones and Doc Ock all have Spider infected for the Cabal, so that's 3 victory points. The Avengers hold their closest shelter for 1 victory point. The Cabal hold their closest shelter for 1 victory point, but they also hold the middle one still for 2, because despite there being 2 models each, because Iron Man is wounded, he doesn't count, so the Cabal have the most healthy miniatures. So that is 2 more victory points there for the Cabal. And down here, Baron Zemo and Captain America took 1 damage each for not being within the safety of a shelter. So as things stand, the Cabal is at 10 victory points and the Avengers are at 7. So now, as we get Battle Round 3 started, the Spiders will try and struggle, and we'll see what miniatures get moved. So as things for Battle Round 3 get started, you can see that certain characters have been moved. Hulk resisted the spider infected he was carrying, so did not move. Dr. Octopus was forced there, Captain Marvel was forced there. Baron Zemo, important one, forced there, closer to Big and Angry, and Crossbones was not moved. And this Battle Round 3, it's the Avengers going first. Oh, also all power has been given, 3 to the Hulk, 1 to everybody else. Oh boy, was that an interesting activation for Iron Man. So he is on his wounded side of his card now, which gives him access to a new attack called Unibeam. It's basically the huge chest blast beam from his main arc reactor. Normally it costs 4 power, but because of A Day Like Any Other, from Captain America being the leader, it costs 3. So he spent 3 to do that. Well, first of all he moved because it's a beam weapon. It's a B5. So what that means is, instead of just measuring with the 5 tool being like, yeah, you can reach him, what you actually do is you place the tool and any base, partially or fully covered, is hit because it's a literal beam rather than just a measuring tool. So that's why he moved himself out of the Gamma shelter there, so he could hit Ultron and Doc Ock. Coincidentally, he did the exact same damage to each of them. He did 4 to each of them. Ultron has maxed out his energy, his power reserves at 10 also, so it's worth pointing out. I think he's got 2 HP left, or 1. Doc Ock, on the other hand, 4 plus the 1 damage he had already puts him at his dazed status, so he now can't be touched. He has dropped his spider infected. He won't get an activation this turn, and he'll flip over to his wounded side at the start of the next turn. So Ultron's hurt, Doc Ock is down. Iron Man is no longer safe or contesting the shelter, only Ultron is. But that was super effective. Oh, also forgot to mention, the Unibeam only costs 3 thanks to A Day Like Any Other. He also spent 3 power on Friday AI, which adds 2 attack dice. It's normally energy 6, so it became 8 dice. So a lot of chances to do damage there. That was really powerful. Red Skull activated and first of all got out of Crossbones' way, moved where you can see him right there with medium. Then he used the Cosmic Blast again, the one that just costs 1 power on Captain America. He got 1 wild in the attack, which means he saps a power from Captain America, so he's only got 1 on him now. Didn't manage to get through his defense though, because Cap is pretty defensive based, so no damage dealt, and obviously Red Skull is now not safe inside the Gamma Shelter. Hulk activated and he moved small up roughly there-ish. He then spent what would have been 3 but 2 thanks to A Day Like Any Other, Thunderclap, which is another beam, 5, so he actually hit Red Skull and Baron Zemo. Baron Zemo took 1 damage and Red Skull was actually able to fully defend against it, he got quite lucky. So only 1 damage to Baron Zemo. Now Baron Zemo technically could have spent the power cost to do counterattack to deal damage to Hulk back, but Hulk gets stronger the more you damage him, so opted not to do that. Then finally Hulk spent 3 more power, that's the full cost, to do Gamma Leap, and just hopped on over the other side of Baron Zemo there to get closer towards the other end of the table. Ultron activated and moved up so he could spend 1 power to pick up the spider infected that Doc Ock dropped. He then used Metallic Fury for 3 power and did exceptionally well with 7 attack dice. He chooses whether it's energy or physical. He made it physical because Captain Marvel is worse against physical and has no chance to absorb it, and did a staggering 5 damage. She has 6 HP, so she's got 1 HP left on her healthy side. However, he also did bleed. If she doesn't cure bleed on her turn, then when the turn rolls over, the bleed applies. Well, it applies at the end of her activation. So at the end of her activation, she would be dazed if she doesn't shake the status effect off. So that means she can't do much with her turn. If she gets dazed, she's going to drop her spider infected. That's tricky. That's very tricky. Captain America activated next, and the team tactic card Second Wind was played. So let's flip this over. It's Avengers affiliated, which this team is. Any number of Avenger characters may spend 1 power to play this card. Captain America spent a power and Captain Marvel spent a power. Characters that spent power remove the stun special condition and remove 1 damage. So Cap had 1 damage on him, it's gone now. Captain Marvel has removed 1, which means she can still do both her actions and bleed won't kill her this turn. So that's why that was played. Captain America then moved medium, and then he just tried to strike Red Skull. Red Skull has surprisingly good physical defense and blocked it, so no damage there. Cap's not having a good showing this turn, but that was very important for Captain Marvel. That card's now gone for the game though. So, Cabal's still got Crossbones and Baron Zemo. So Crossbones activated next, and that was very cleverly done because that means Baron Zemo is going last, and he moves along so he can get to the shelter in the Avengers deployment zone, or just outside the Avengers deployment zone. That's going to be tricky for what Captain Marvel does with 1 HP technically, because he could kill her and then she wouldn't be contesting. Anyway, either way, Crossbones just moved small, and then he spent 3 power or 2 power on Overpower. And that's an interesting attack, because 1, before the attack roll was even rolled, if the target character is size 2 or less, and Cap is size 2, you throw it small. And throws do contact damage, whereas pushes do not. So first of all, he chucked Captain America into the wall here for 1 damage, displayed there. Then the Overpower roll was actually rolled, and Cap didn't have the power to use Vibranium Shield, so it actually did 3 damage. So Captain America has 1 health left on his healthy side. And also once the attack is resolved, Crossbones is placed within 1 of his target, if he chooses to be. So even though he was back there and the attack was range 3, he's basically just running at them, slammed them into there, and then he's allowed to move and stay within 1 of wherever the throw ended up. So now it's over to Captain Marvel, and this is going to take a little bit of thinking about what the best course of action is. Okay, so you're already going to see a lot of stuff happening here. We're going to go through it step by step for what might be the greatest turn in Crisis Protocol that has ever existed. Captain Marvel just pulled it out. Alright, here it goes. We're going to talk this through. She was there. Ultron was there. She did a superpower. She did the Danvers special for 3, which is anything, either a train feature or a character of size 3 or less. Ultron is 3. Within 2, which he was, she throws it medium. Not an action. It's a superpower. So she chucked Ultron off the roof. Essentially, like, she picked him up and then just chucked him. The controlling player gets to decide where the throw happens. It's not like a push where it's directly away from the person. And again, throws, as we just saw with Captain America, cause collisions. So she chucked Ultron just enough range with the medium and his base size into Baron Zemo. So what happens is that during a collision, the thrown person takes 1 damage. That was enough to get Ultron dazed, so he dropped the spider infected he was holding. The character that got someone or a trained feature chucked at them does a dodge roll. You roll equal to your physical defense, and then what happens is for every, I think it's every shield crit and wild you roll, you subtract 1 from the damage that would be done. And the damage that would be done is the size of the thing being chucked at you, plus 1. So that would be Ultron, who's size 3, plus 1, but then it's minus 1 because 1 block got rolled by Baron Zemo, which means he took 3 damage, which also dazed him, made him drop his spider infected, and he'll be flipping his card as well, and doesn't get an activation. That was the most ridiculous, jammy way out of a terrible situation. The original plan was just going to be float Captain Marvel next to here, get rid of the bleed. Oh, speaking of which, because that was a superpower, she moved next to the shelter and used her other action to get rid of the bleed. So what she was originally going to do was just fly next to here, get rid of the bleed, and hope that Baron Zemo didn't kill her. Then it was to say, well, if Baron Zemo was going to claim this, that's 3 victory points, but if she chucked Ultron, she'd get 2 for holding that, and that kind of offsets it a little bit. Didn't even consider until measuring that, oh hang on, Ultron could get chucked into him. Now this is a bit weird. The only weird part is the scenery height, because there's no rules about what if you're chucking someone off a building. Do you go diagonally? Do you measure straight and then just fall down like that? So again, this kind of implies that Crisis Protocol isn't built for vertical combat as much as it is just on the ground. Either way, kind of had to presume how that would work as a result, but that was amazing. That was epic. So now that is going to take us to the cleanup for this ridiculous turn. So at the end of that turn, the Hulk and Captain Marvel both have Spider infected, so that's 2 victory points. Crossbones has 1 Spider infected for 1 victory point. For Gamma shelters, the only one claimed by anyone is the one in the middle held by Captain Marvel. So that means lots of people are taking damage. Now, however, the damage for the Gamma waves happens at the cleanup phase, so therefore the turn has not rolled over. So those who are dazed, they don't count as being on the table, so Doc Ock, Ultron, Baron Zemo, no damage, because they're in the process of flipping over to the wounded side. Then Iron Man took a wound, Red Skull took a wound, Crossbones took a wound, Captain America took a wound, and that has flipped him over to his wounded side as well as the turn rolls over. So now those of them who are holding Spider Infected will be back with first activation for the Cabal, and we'll see where they get moved, if at all. So to get the 4th battle round started, totally forgot to mention, but that actually evened up the points at 11 each, and that's important because first to 16 wins. So Spider Infected, Crossbones got moved by the Avengers to where you can see him, and that is it. First activation for the Cabal was the now flipped over to his wounded side, Doc Ock, who was up here. He fired his arm lasers at Carol Danvers. He did 2 blood, she only had 1 left, sorry, 2 damage, wrong game. She only had 1 health left, so she is now dazed and will not be getting an activation this turn. She has dropped her Spider Infected where you can see. Then, using Wall Climber, or Crawler, Doc Ock moved medium and is claiming the Avengers side Gamma Shelter for 3 victory points at the end of the turn unless something changes. So that is dangerous. This is going to be a very pivotal turn. It seems like turn 4 really is just like the decider for these games. Confirmation bias because this is the 2nd game and it's happened again. But we shall see what happens as we go to the Avengers first activation. The Hulk activated next for the Avengers, and he had a pretty smashy fun turn. So from where he was standing, he first spent, well, it would normally be 2, but it went down to 1. Strongest there is. He can chuck something of size 4 or less. He opted to chuck Baron Zemo. So Baron Zemo took 1 damage, and then after all said and done, Crossbones took 1 damage from the attempt to dodge as well. That is not an action. So then he spent, how much was it? He spent 4 power on Hulk Smash. 8 physical. It staggers if you get a wild, and if you get a wild in the attack roll, you also instantly throw the character you're targeting small before dealing with the damage. So Ultron was thrown into the wall. He took 1 damage from that. All said and done, after the defense rolls and whatnot, he took 4 more damage. He's on 1 HP and he is staggered, and that means his first action in his turn must be to shake the stun, or the stagger, sorry. So that is it. It just occurred to me that technically Hulk does have another action, because strongest one there is not an action, and then he did Hulk Smash and he didn't move. He can't pick up any Spider Infected because he's already holding 1, so he's got what, 1 power? Is Ultron within size 2? Oh, he is. Okay, hang on, we're going to do an addendum then, because he can do his free strike to try and finish Ultron off, so give me a moment. So upon resolving that other action that Hulk did, he did actually do 1 damage, which has killed Ultron, which, as it turns out, was a horrible mistake because of Age of Ultron, the Team Tactic card, which is being played. So if we turn this over, here we go. It's reactive. If Ultron is KO'd, he may spend 8 power, and he was sitting on 10, which is the most you're allowed to hold on you at one time, to play this card before removing the miniature from the battlefield, which would have been this exact moment. Ultron is not removed from the battlefield. Instead, he removes all special conditions, flips his card back to the healthy side, removes all damage, drops all objective tokens, but he didn't have any anyway, and may be placed within range 3 of his current location, rather. Sorry, I was reading back. Also, all special conditions are gone, so he's no longer staggered either. It's essentially replacing himself with another one of his own bodies. So he'll be moved within 3, and it doesn't say anything about this eating his activation up, because it's a team tactic card, so he still gets a turn. That was a dumb thing I just did with the Hulk. Oh well. Red Skull activated, and first of all he used Master of the Cube to move a character within 4/2 of their position, just to move Crossbones close enough that he's going to go contest that to stop it being capped for 3 at the end of the turn by either Iron Man or Captain America, which is very wise. Then he moved Medium down the street, and he didn't want to attack the Hulk, because he doesn't want the Hulk to get stronger, and Miss Marvel is stunned, or flipping over to her wounded side. So he then moved Medium again next to the other Spider Infected. Oh, he picked up the one next to Ultron, so he can't pick up that one. He's just kind of blocking it with his base. Back over to the Avengers. Iron Man activated, and he used homing rockets from where he was. Normally it costs 2, but down to 1 thanks to a day like any other. Its range 5, does not need line of sight, so he shot at Red Skull and did well. Did 3 damage to him. Red Skull has 1 HP left though, so he's not dropping anything. He then just moved over that side of the Gamma Shelter to try and block the area a little bit. In case you're wondering why he didn't go after like Crossbones or Baron Zemo, they're not likely to be killed by that attack, and even if he was somehow able to take out Crossbones with Captain America's help, Baron Zemo could slip in. Although that said, he is on his wounded side. Too late now though, Red Skull was chosen, and he managed to live with 1 HP. Crossbones activated and overpowered again to throw Captain America small again. This time didn't throw him into the wall, wanted him as far away as possible from the Gamma Shelter, which makes sense, so no damage done from that. The actual damage roll itself, 2 power was used by Captain America to use the Vibranium Shield to add more defense dice, plus he has I can do this all day, because he's on his wounded side now, so blanks on defense rolls count as successes, which is actually amazing. So only 1 damage got through, and that is it. So now it's just down to Captain America to end this Avengers turn, and then it's still Baron Zemo and Ultron to go to end the Cabal turn. And I think at least one team's going to have 16 by the end of this turn, so that could be it. So Captain America didn't have much of a choice other than to double move onto the enemy Gamma Shelter. In response, Baron Zemo activated, moved along, then he did, with a charge, which means you do a move then an attack action, so he steel rushed, which was a big power sink, and Captain America spent 2 to Vibranium Shield, no damage done. Then he steel rushed again. Captain America once again spent his last 2 power on a Vibranium Shield again, and no damage got through. He's very, very tanky on his wounded side. Now they are both on their wounded side, and now that's 2 wounded characters within the range of the shelter, so no one is claiming it. So it's just Ultron to probably end the game. Oh, there's been some shenanigans here. Thanks to the Age of Ultron Team Tactic card, Ultron's back on his healthy side, so he just moved medium, and because Iron Man is on his wounded side, it's not even a case of that being contested, it's being claimed, because there's more healthy characters for the Cabal than there is the Avengers. That's all she wrote, I think. Let's go add up the points. So at the end of that tumultuous turn 4, the game has ended. As far as points, Hulk still held onto a Spider Infected for 1 victory point for the Avengers. Red Skull had 1 and Crossbones had 1 for 2 more victory points for the Cabal, but it comes down to those Gamma Shelters. The one in the closest to the Cabal deployment, contested, no victory points. This one, as we just discussed, Ultron is claiming it because he's back to full health, so that's 2 victory points, and Doc Ock is holding this one, which is the one furthest from where they started, for 3 victory points. All said and done, that brings the final score to the Avengers have 12 and the Cabal have 19. So all said and done, that was a very, very fun game. When Captain Marvel had that just astonishingly good everything went right turn, thought that was it. Thought that was everything had swung into the Avengers' favour. They were going to win. It didn't seem like much of anything could be done about it. And then it just all fell apart. Would things have been different had Hulk not accidentally, it was deliberate, but had not finished off Ultron, therefore leaving him on his wounded side? It would have made a difference, but not enough of one. He still would have gone up there to contest this middle objective. That means no one would claim it. That would mean there'd be a difference of 2 victory points. That would still put them 1 over the 16 cap, and the Avengers would still be way behind. So even if that hadn't been noticed and done in a different manner, it wouldn't have made a difference. Doc Ock getting to this is what secured it, basically. But that was very fun. I liked there was a lot more scrapping. Hulk didn't really get a chance to shine. He's so slow. And the thing is, he moves small. He can Gamma Leap, which is range 2, which is less than a small movement. So it's like almost 2 inches on the dot, or just over 2 inches. It takes him a while to get into combat, and with spending power on Gamma Leap, or whatever it was called, the tactics card to throw Captain America, he didn't have enough to get up the table quickly. He's a tank, he does a lot of damage. Hulk Smash was fantastic, but he wasn't used correctly, I think. Anyway, if you did enjoy, please do show your support. It helps us know here what to prioritise between like this and Batman and DC and painting videos and all that other stuff, and 40k as well. Show your support where you wish to see more, and they'll be prioritised. Thank you very much for watching. Please do as I said there, and we'll see you in the future for something else. Until then, ta-da for now.